Robert Jenrick, you are Tory MP for Newark, and now you're my first political lunch date. So it must be a career high for
I
you.
am honoured, Kate, to be your first date.
Exactly.
And welcome to Newark.
Thanks.
Good. Well, this is my favourite cafe.
Yeah, Jenny's Cafe.
Jenny's Cafe, a good place to get a very hearty breakfast. Oh, brilliant. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
That is great.
Look
at that.
So good.
I told you that they don't scrimp here.
That is so true. What sauce do you have in your
Well,
sandwich?
I'm a ketchup man, but...
Oh my God, are you?
What are you, brown sauce?
I always do brown. I'm actually a bit nervous that I'm going to get this on me.
Really? You have an Ed Miliband moment.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, are you not nervous to come for bacon sandwiches for me?
I'm very well practiced at eating bacon sandwiches, so don't you worry about me.
Have you ever had that, though, where, like, they've taken a photo of you, the press, and you've thought, oh, how did you get that photo of me?
There's a lot of bad photos of me out there.
Robert, that's so sad.
Right, well, you tuck in and enjoy that.
All right, I'm going to try it. Can we start with the most important news about you, which is your glow up?
Oh, you invented the glow up, Kate.
I invented the glow up with you.
Yeah, I wasn't very happy with you at the time, but, well, you know, but actually, you know, you spurred me on. And once you had published that I'd lost some weight, then I had absolutely no choice but to keep going. I couldn't back down.
Because you're looking so good. How did you do it? Did you just decide, right, that's it, I'm going to turn my life around, I'm going to lose weight and get a new look?
Yeah, well,
you got the new haircut too, which looks pretty good.
Thank you, Kate. I need you in my life more often. I was a bit overweight, as you know, and I had been thinking about what to do for a very long time. And then I guess it was just a moment, it was 2 summers ago where I felt enough was enough. I needed to change. And so I started to lose weight. And I took some of the jabs initially, they got me started. And then, contrary to what you see today, I started to, cut out some of the junk food, eat better. And I took up running, I play tennis with my kids, I do go to the gym now, took up boxing, and it's been great. I've lost 4 or 5 stone and feel so much better for it.
You look so good. But also, it is a kind of occupational hazard of working in politics, isn't it?
It's a very unhealthy lifestyle because you've got all these late nights in Parliament.
Yeah.
And for those of us who like their food, there's all sorts of things you can eat there. You can end up having a Sunday roast at 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
And then because I represent a constituency up here in the North Midlands, a couple of times a week I'm getting my car, driving up the A1, and then you're at McDonald's late at night, Burger King.
Was that your kind of guilty pleasure? Was that the worst?
That was.
Oh, no. What's your McDonald's order?
Quarter pounder with cheese was generally my favourite. But I'm also a big, Chinese takeaway, Indian, you name it. So I was very bad on junk food, but I've not completely cut that out, but I'm much better now than I used to.
And I think that you mentioned you were on the Jaro.
Yeah, I did that for a bit, yeah. And
how was that? Because actually in Westminster now, so many people are on it, aren't they?
They seem to be, yeah. Look, it worked for me. Yeah. I didn't do it for so long, but it got me started, and that was the most important thing. Yeah. And when you're in a bit of a rut, sometimes you need something to get you going, but I wouldn't want to be on it forever.
Did you have to delete the Deliveroo app? I sometimes do that.
Well, I deleted the Uber app at one stage.
Okay, the Uber Eats.
Uber Eats.
Yeah.
But then I just downloaded the Deliveroo app about a week later. So I have all sorts of guilty pleasures, but I am much better than I used to be.
So I feel like you had this sort of physical glow up. So you kind of lost some weight, got this good new hairstyle, and then with it you had this it went hand in hand with your political glow up. So you became an MP, what was your by-election? 2014 you
2014,
won,
yes.
So which is just ahead. Then 2015 comes and David Cameron finally wins a Tory majority after all those years. So your intake is sort of what, Rishi Sunak, Oliver Dowden, that's your sort of intake. And
yes.
You're part of the kind of Cameroon wave, aren't you?
Well, I came in that period, yeah, David Cameron was the leader of the party. I never, no disrespect to him, I never sort of saw myself as that. I've always been my own person, really. Yeah. But it's definitely true to say that my views have hardened with the passage of time because politics has changed during that time. And my experience as a minister made me feel increasingly that the country is broken, that there are massive challenges and the state just isn't working. And then in particular, when I turned up at the Home Office, it was a total bin fire. Everything was broken. There were thousands of people at camps down in Kent. Hotels were being taken across the country. And people were rightly immensely angry. I was angry and ashamed at the state of things. And the fact that the British state couldn't do the most basic task, which is to secure our borders, led me to the conclusion that we've got to do something very radical to try and turn the country around. That's ultimately why I resigned from the last Conservative government, and that's what I've devoted myself to really since then in politics.
Because I suppose that's kind of a journey for you. Most people would have thought that you got almost like radicalised in the Home Office. Your views seemed to really harden as you were Immigration Minister under the Rishi Sunak government. But did you also have this, I mean, you're known now, you're probably best known to people for those really slick videos you do, like the one where you're stopping fare dodgers at Stratford Station. I think that's been watched 15 million times. I mean,
yeah, on Twitter.
That's like more people than watching EastEnders, you know, it's like huge hits. Was there a point where you sort of thought, actually, in order to succeed as a politician, to cut through, to actually connect with people, you've got to be more hardline, more kind of bold?
No, look, I think my values haven't changed. I mean, my values are the ones that I've always had. They're rooted in the place I grew up in. I mean, we're here in the town I'm lucky enough to represent, small town in North Nottinghamshire, very similar to where I grew up in Wolverhampton in the West Midlands. My mum and dad come from Manchester and Liverpool, from working class backgrounds, set up a small business around our kitchen table. And it's people like them that I'm in politics for. But I have increasingly come to the view that the people who run this country, the elite in Westminster, the politicians, the media, you name it, are massively out of touch with those people. Massively out of touch.
Do you think you were also, you know, like, has that been a thing that you've realised as a politician yourself? You know, it's quite easy to get caught up with that Westminster.
When I first went to Parliament, I mean, I'd never worked in politics, I'd been in business beforehand. I did have a view that the system basically worked. And I wanted it to work, and I wanted to play my part in making it succeed and making small incremental progress for the good of people I represented. But over time, I came to the view that that's not what's happening right now. People feel poor. The people I represent feel hard up at the moment. The economy is just bouncing along the bottom. Life is hard. Their taxes are going up. Everything that they're buying in the shops are going up. Life is difficult for them. You've got younger people who feel like the social contract has just been shredded. They can't get on the housing ladder. They're going to be taxed more. The best years of their life, if they were at uni, were spent during lockdowns where the state was telling them what to do. They're sick of being told what to do. If they're young men when they're at school, you know, being taught through kind of wokery that they're to blame for all the ills of the world. And then you've got migration, where politician after politician has been making promises only to break them, sometimes even sticking two fingers up to them. Creating an immigration system was the opposite of what they promised.
That's Boris Johnson now, isn't it? I mean,
well, it was the ministers who were in government at the time. It's bigger than just one person.
Yes.
It's a complete failure by politicians of a generation. You know, Tony Blair was the founding father of this idea that you can import millions of people into our country and it will just be an unalloyed good. Well, tell that to people here in Newark who work in distribution centres or in food processing factories whose wages are being undercut by workers who've come in, but who can't get on the housing ladder, can't get a doctor or a GP, you know, can't get a dentist.
That was kind of a key part of the Brexit vote, wasn't it? This idea that we could regain control of our borders, limit immigration. But after that, we saw immigration hit record highs under Boris Johnson. I mean, was that a mistake? Was that the Tory party's kind of biggest mistake in office, do you think?
Well, I've been painfully honest about that. I felt that it was bigger than one person. It goes back 25 years to Tony Blair, but the last Conservative government made big mistakes. It let people down. It said it was going to control immigration and it did precisely the opposite. We have to look to the future now. What I want to see is a period where we give the country some breathing space. And that means fewer people coming in than are leaving every year. And we make sure that we get those people in the right order. So the people who are leaving are the lower wage, low skilled people who aren't making an economic contribution to our country. And the people who are coming in, Let's make this country the grammar school of the Western world and choose people who are really going to make an economic contribution. So yeah, sure, you get the consultant doctors, the entrepreneurs, the coders, the people we need to drive our economy forwards. Be super selective about the people who are coming in.
How do you sort of do that? I mean, are you saying to people Britain's full up, or are you saying you have to, only be an MA graduate to be allowed to come here?
Well, yeah, I think you firstly, there's a load of people who've come in recent years.
Yeah.
And so what we want to see happen is that those people who haven't yet become British citizens, who are still here on visas, if they're not making a contribution to the country, really serious economic contribution, then at the end of their visas, it's right that they're asked to leave.
That's so much easier
said
than done, though, isn't it?
Look, I think it's possible.
Yeah.
I really believe it's possible. We don't have to just go along with the way things have been done in the past. And I want to set these things out in law. We want it to be a legally binding cap set by Parliament. So for the first time in my lifetime, your son readers can actually believe this is going to happen. And it's not just going to be another set of politicians making promises on immigration that they don't keep.
Trust in politicians is so low, particularly on that issue. So what, the Conservative Party let those people down? Were they irresponsible letting immigration get so high?
Yeah, I have been painfully honest about the mistakes that the last Conservative government made. I say it's not just the Conservative Party, it's been going on for a very long time. But it made serious mistakes. We have to be honest about that. Yeah. And then we've got to look to the future and bring forward serious answers as to how we fix that. And I advocate, it's the logical conclusion of the policies that Kemi Badenoch has been setting out, that we go into a period where fewer people are coming in than are leaving. Give people breathing space so that we can help people onto the housing ladder, get access to public services, and also just make this country more united. Because I think that it's divided at the moment.
It does feel like a very angry place.
I think that people are sick of seeing, the Gaza flag being put up, a lamppost, a Pakistan flag. A couple of weeks ago, I went down the road from here in Newark and put up Union flags on lampposts for a couple of hours. And car after car, HGV drivers, van drivers were honking their horns. They were saying, good for you. People want us to feel pride in our country. And in order to do that, you have got to integrate people properly and expect that everyone who comes into our country cherishes our history and our heritage and our culture.
Should there be this ban of putting up the kind of the Palestine flag then in public buildings or in the...
Well, look, I don't want foreign flags on public buildings.
Yeah.
I don't want to see them on the streets.
All foreign flags?
Well, look, there are obviously exceptions to that rule. I'm not going to go and, ban anyone from putting up a national flag, but I want people to feel a genuine sense of pride in our country. And that means people putting up flags of the United Kingdom and our, the nations of our country. But we should be one country under one flag. I
want to talk a bit about your slick videos, can we? So your most famous is your fare dodging video. Were you a bit scared? I mean, you're going to Stratford Station, big East London station, and you're kind of accosting people saying, excuse me, come back here, why have you dodged your fare? Was it kind of scary doing that?
It didn't really feel like that at the time. It didn't really feel like that at the time, to be honest.
Be kind of every man for himself at Stratford Station.
Well, it was all right. Look, there were some nasty people there, as you saw on the video. There was a bloke who muttered that he had a knife under his breath. So look, I'm not recommending to people that they go and do this in their daily lives, but I thought it was very important to say this and to speak up for people, because I think why that got viewed so many times was that so many people in our country feel like mugs right now. They're playing by the rules, whether it's paying for their fare on the bus or the tram or the tube if they're down in London, or paying for stuff when they go into Greggs and the local convenience store. And then they see these other people flagrantly ignoring the law, nicking stuff, breaking in to a tradesman's van, stealing his tools, and the police apparently doing nothing about it. That is why there is this growing perception that Britain is lawless right now. And that's got to change.
I mean, do you think that? Do you think Britain's lawless or more lawless than it was 5 years ago?
I do. Look, let's look at some of the facts. There is an epidemic right now of shoplifting, of burglary, of mobile phone theft. These are the crimes that people see in their daily lives, the most visible crimes. I want to live in a country where our streets are safe and it can be safe again. I take the kind of broken windows approach that Rudy Giuliani did when he was mayor of New York.
This idea that you tackle the small bits of antisocial behaviour, crime, and that stops the really big stuff happening.
Absolutely. That
no crime's too small.
No crime is too small. You know, any form of antisocial behaviour should be clamped down on, whether it's, you know, that bloke on the bus or the tube who's playing the annoying music on his headphones, or the person pushing through the barriers on the tube. If you ignore these small things, they'll escalate. That person will think they can get away with it. They'll do it again. Somebody else will do it. They'll move on to the next crime.
When I was on the train here, I was asking a woman to put her headphones in.
Oh, good for you.
I know.
You should have filmed it.
I'm basically a have-a-go hero. But she was like, fine to do it. But I just thought it was so odd that everyone was sitting there silently, like a very English thing, just look at your feet and touch, but no one intervened.
Yeah, but that's why it's important that we change that culture. And the authorities step up and take action. And I honestly believe that if you had more visible, stronger policing on our streets, then we can turn this around.
So a lot of your videos speak to crime, different types of crime. And I wonder if you've been a victim of crime. You know, you talk about Britain being lawless. Well, is it? Have you been a victim? Has anything happened to you?
Well, a small example, I don't overstate it, but I came down to London the other day, about 10 or 11 o'clock at night, was walking out to Victoria Station on the way to Parliament, and I was looking at my phone, as we all do.
Yeah.
And a bloke came past, scumbag, on a bicycle, tried to grab it out of my hand. Fortunately, he didn't succeed.
That's still quite frightening, though.
Well, it's unnerving, isn't it?
Unnerving,
absolutely. Yeah. And when I'm down in London, do I now hold my phone tighter? Am I a little bit more nervous? Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And sure, we should all take sensible precautions in life, but I don't want that to be the case, that people feel nervous like that.
Yeah.
Are
you nervous for your girls? So you've got 3 girls.
I am nervous for my girls, yeah, because look, I didn't, you know, I grew up in a small town. It was a fairly safe place. And I want my kids to be able to have the childhood that I had, where you can walk to the shop. When I was older, you go out for a night out in Wolverhampton. And yeah, it wasn't the perfect place, don't get me wrong. But I never felt really unsafe on nights out when I was a teenager and then older.
Do your girls feel unsafe, do you think?
I think at times they do.
How old are they? They're teenagers, aren't they?
My oldest is now 14, so just become a teenager. And yeah, there are stories that, you know, they know of their friends who've been mugged on the streets. Yeah. They are more concerned when they get the tube. They sometimes say they think people are, you know, older blokes are looking at them and inappropriately.
That's horrible.
And I just don't want that. I really don't want that. And that's why the people who are doing these crimes have got to go to jail. A small number of what's called hyper-prolific offenders, career criminals, are committing the vast majority of crimes.
Yeah, because these are criminals that, they can notch up dozens and dozens of offences.
Absolutely.
And some of them are still walking free.
Absolutely. 50% of all the crime in our country is being committed by as few as 9% of the criminals. So the answer to this is to get those people off our streets for punishment, for sure, but as a matter of basic public protection. And that is the opposite of what Labour are doing right now.
You have to build some more prison places. But I mean...
Well, look, I would build more prisons, but I would also...
The Tories didn't, did they, when it was them?
They should have built more prisons. Yeah. But there is an answer to this. We've got to get the foreign nationals who are in our prisons out of our country.
Yeah.
A third of all of the people in our prisons are either foreigners who should be deported, or they're people who are on what's called remand awaiting trial. And so they get the court sitting around the clock, get those cases done, get those people out of the system.
And don't give visas to those countries if they don't take them back?
Yeah, look, it's...
Did you know Pakistan, they don't take those foreign offenders back?
Look, we are pussyfooting around this issue. The government is so weak, it's pitiful. We shouldn't be giving foreign aid to a country like Pakistan if they won't take back their own citizens. I mean, it was reported the other day, I read, that when David Lammy was the Foreign Secretary, he was negotiating with the Pakistan government to take back a couple of grooming gang perpetrators, so vile rapists, back home to Pakistan, and he was almost begging them to do this. I think Pakistan was supposedly asking for, in return, a discredited airline to start flights back to the UK. Well, let's not do that. Say to countries like Pakistan, we're not going to give you any foreign aid. We're not going to give you visas. And I think you'd see a change in attitude.
I wanted to ask you something that's quite common at the moment, like how you feel as a politician with your safety. Because we had the assassination of, obviously, Charlie Kirk in America, the attempt on Donald Trump's life in the presidency campaign. Do you fear that you're going to see things like that here?
Well, we have sadly already seen tragedies in our own country, like the murder of David Amis and Joe Cox. So it's not an academic issue, it's already happened. And yeah, it is a concern to members of parliament, particularly people who take up tough topics. And I'm not going to shy away from talking about Islamist extremism or the rape gang scandal, or issues that might to some people seem controversial but actually are just immensely important to our country.
Do you think that makes you a target?
Maybe. And I have had some nasty things happen where we've had death threats to me and members of my family. We've also just had groups on the left showing complete disregard for the welfare of my family, like Extinction Rebellion turned up at my house one Sunday morning when I'd popped out to do some shopping, and my kids were in the house with my sister, and they camped out on the lawn wearing a kind of balaclavas and outfits. They had no idea that it was Extinction Rebellion. It could have frankly been anyone. They called us. They were very worried. We had to call the police.
That's horrible. What did the police say?
Well, they did their best. They encouraged them to leave, and they did leave. But obviously, didn't apologise. Well, exactly. They shouldn't be there. They should respect people. I do think on the left there is this kind of virus, this kind of cancer, where they hate their opponents so much that they want to shout them down. They're happy to band around terms for people which are completely disproportionate. That's
actually quite heavy topics. We probably should move on. But should we talk about Nigel Farage?
If you want to.
Do you and Nigel get on all right? What's it like when the cameras are turned off and you're just at the same event? Do you get on well?
Yeah, no, look, I think he's a good bloke. I go to the pub with Nigel. We have a bit of banter together.
He basically wants to destroy you. He wants to destroy you and your party. He says, that's it, I'm going to finish the Tories off.
My view is this. Nigel's a good bloke to go to the pub with. And he speaks for a lot of people in the country. But I don't think Nigel is the bloke that you want to have running your kids' schools or running your local hospital, or as the public finances continue to collapse under Rachel Reeves, trust your savings, your pension, your small business too. I'm not sure if Nigel actually thinks he's the right person to do that himself.
Can't trust Nigel with your piggy bank, basically.
Look, I just think that he may not have all of the answers to the challenges that the country is facing. And we need to have serious answers to those. How do we get economic growth going so that people in a place like Newark feel that they're better off, have more money at the end of the month than they do right now? How do we get the country building again so that young people can get on the housing ladder? How do we bring down the numbers of people coming here illegally every year, eliminate those small boats? How do we get the NHS waiting list down? They're still too high. But that's what we should be focusing on right now.
There's been a few Tories that have defected to reform. The biggest one so far was, everyone can agree, was Danny Kruger.
Well, look, I was sad to see Danny leave the Conservative Party. He's a very good friend of mine, and he's somebody I hold in high regard. But I don't agree with his decision. I think the Conservative Party's got to fight back now. Look, we are a 200-year-old political party. No political party has some kind of divine right to exist, even one that's served the country for a long time and produced Churchill and Thatcher and great leaders of the past. What we've got to do now as a party is step up, put our foot on the gas. We've got to be honest about the mistakes that we made. We've got to change the Conservative Party fundamentally so that everyone in the country knows that we are once again working in line with the sentiments of people of this country.
You thought that election was bad for the Tory party, like the poll ratings have gone down and down and down since, hasn't it? So is kind of Kemi failing to cut through?
Well, I think it's a tough job being leader of the opposition. Right.
Well, it's a job you wanted, though.
It's a very hard job. We suffered our worst ever election defeat. So she's taken over at a hard time. But has she had successes? Yes. Forced the Labour government into doing a grooming gangs inquiry by hook or by crook. They didn't want to do that. They were putting their sectional party interests before the interests of victims of child sexual exploitation and rape. She forced the U-turn on the winter fuel allowance. Really important. Some of my constituents here in Newark, older people who just don't have the money in winter to pay for their energy bills. And you just got rid of Mandelson as our ambassador in Washington. I mean, what a total disgrace that Starmer, who obviously knew that Mandelson was a friend of Epstein, he'd house sit for him, for goodness sake, when he was in jail for child sex abuse. And yet he still made him our ambassador. So there have been successes. What we've got to do is change. The Tory party has to look like a different party. And as I say, we've got to fight back. We've got to step up.
How long before voters say, well, you haven't proved you've changed, so we're bored now?
Well, we've got to do this fast. Obviously, we've got to do it fast because we're in a competition. It's not about this election or that election. There's always tests in politics.
Yeah.
But we've got 3.5 years until the next general election. That's a long time in politics. 3.5 years ago, Boris Johnson was still Prime Minister. But the most important thing the Conservative Party's got to do is show the public it's changed, not get involved in tittle-tattle, who's up, who's down, this defection, that defection.
Do you think more will defect?
Really, I don't know. What matters, I know you want to ask those questions, but frankly, I'm bored of answering questions like that because I think what matters to the country at this point is how do we make people's lives better? That's what we should be focusing on.
And the Tory party can survive this threat from Nigel. Everyone talking about it being an existential
Of course it can.
threat.
Of course it can. But is it going to be a massive challenge? Yes. Have we got to step up and fight for the future of the Conservative Party and the country, which is far more important than any one political party? Yes. That's what I intend to do.
What's it like being a right-wing, pin-up? Honestly.
Well, you're the first person who said that to me, Kate.
I bet that is not true. If someone said to me, "Oh, Kate, what's it like to just look so good?" I'd love that. But so, do you get sort of fan mail?
No.
No indecent proposals through the post?
No, there was a survey of sexy people, but when I dug more into it, it was a survey by women who'd had extramarital affairs.
Oh my God, did you top the poll of people that they wanted to sleep with?
I didn't top the poll, no.
But you came high?
Well, it was unclear how many people were in contention. But,
who beat you?
Ramesh Ranganathan, Jeremy Clarkson.
Oh.
But I was above David Beckham.
What?
Exactly. The reaction that you've just had was the same as my wife and all the girls in my family.
Okay, so I guess we'll get the bill.
Thank you very much. That was great.
Well, did you enjoy the date? Who should pay?
I'll pay. You can pay next time.
Well, I'll pay.
Is there going to be a second?
I'll take you on a date in London.
Is there going to be a second date, Kate?
I hope so.